Well, hello, Young and the Restless Daily Recap fans. Today's daily recap is for Friday, January the 27th, 2023. Friday, January 27th, 2023. Definitely not a cliffhanger Friday. Definitely not. We had some movement. We had the conversation with Daniel. Of course, he shows up with at Phyllis's room, and he's talking to her, trying to make her understand her position in the company and the pecking order, and how she was out of line, going behind his back and trying to, pretty much create deals, really. And he goes, "Oh no, that's for me and me alone." And so, he said that, you can't go around doing things like this. And she's like, okay, I may have overstepped. Okay. See, Phyllis doesn't take responsibility. It's just, okay, fine. Gee, give me a break. I just got overzealous. And, whoa. How would she like somebody making a deal for her where the Grand Phoenix was concerned, Miss Overzealous? So anyway, Daniel left it at, bottom line, I make the decisions if and when I'm going to start shopping my project around, mine. And then he pretty much was letting her know, and then I'll let you know. He says, but just as a matter of speaking to you, Tucker seems like a better fit for me than Newman Media. She's like, Tucker McCall, you want to stay away from that guy. That guy, that guy. He goes, you know what? Pretty much, we all know what that guy is capable of. But I also know that he, for me, I think his vision, his values, the things he was saying is more in line with what I want. He says, look, I don't want nothing Newman, nothing, And so she goes, well, I mean, your stepfather was Newman. And he goes, you know what? And Nick is okay. He's like, but I still don't want to go into business with him, and I don't want nothing Newman. He says, on top of the fact, Nate was trying to sell Chancellor Winters out. And so was Audra. They both were working with other people trying to sell out, give insider information. He's like, Tucker is Tucker. At least he almost said, at least he was on the receiving end, But he goes, how could you, I don't know that I could trust Nate or Audra. On top of the fact, being completely controlled by Newman Enterprises. He goes, that doesn't appeal to me. There's less control at Chancellor Winters over my head. It's just Lily I'd be dealing with. And then I'm thinking, well, Daniel, that is unless the company goes public, right? Think about that. Because then it'll be a board of directors that you have to answer to, Daniel. See, that's one of the things that Devon was talking about. You lose total control if you go public. So we shall see where this all shakes out. That's going to be interesting to me. So Victoria has a meeting with everybody, and she's talking about, we got to really watch Tucker. She feels, that Tucker is a threat, and they got to keep a close eye on him. And so Victor says, and I had Michael Baldwin doing some digging, coming to find out Tucker's in some financial problems. And Nikki's like, how can that be? And he goes, well, he sold off a bunch of his divisions to amass this cash to try to do the takeover of Chancellor Winters. And Victor says, yeah, he did, but there were a lot of short-term loans or, short-term deals that now are coming due. So I'm thinking, well, goodness, if they were short-term loans and he didn't sell nothing off, did he? Right? He must have leveraged versus selling, right? And now they're like, okay, time to make some payments. And he's looking like, oh shoot, I didn't acquire the company I wanted and things aren't working out. So Victoria says, ooh, that means McCall Unlimited is ripe for the picking. So she goes, yeah, the deal with Chancellor Winters is dead, but boy, McCall Unlimited, those divisions would fit nicely in Newman Enterprises. And Victor's like, yeah, that's what I'm saying, my girl. And Nick is like, wait a minute, wait. I say we don't rush into anything. If Tucker is pretty much imploding on his own, let him. And then we swoop in and we acquire his divisions, his companies at a much better price versus trying to do a hostile takeover. He says, I say we wait. And Victor's like, nah, not necessarily, no. I say we're going to move. Victoria's like, I'm with you, daddy. Hey. And so then Nick says, well, there's something else we got to also be aware of and be concerned about. Nate Hastings has hired Audra Childs from Chancellor Winters. Audra was working and probably still is working with Tucker McCall. And Victoria looked at Nicholas like, why did you tell that? Like, ooh, I didn't necessarily want that out, because she knew, right? Because she interviewed her. And she's like, ooh. And Victor said, so Nikki says, oh, no. We have got to keep a definite eye on her. Definite. Because no. And Victor said, you know what? No. Yeah, we'll keep an eye on her, but I'd rather use this to our advantage, Victor says. I'd rather let's see how this plays out. Let's see. Because that might work for us. And Victoria's kind of like, yep, I like that thinking, daddy, right? So we have Chelsea is talking to Billy, and he comes. At first, he wasn't going to knock on the door, which was interesting to me. That's the first time I saw that. He was kind of hesitant to go see her. But then he finally decided, yeah. And so he says he wanted to talk to her about the podcast. And she was off of that, almost the high she was on, wanting to do the podcast was almost that manic high, right? And talking fast and not really thinking about everything. And so she goes, well, I don't know if the podcast is such a good idea. We're going to have to put that on hold. And he's like, well, what happened? And she said, I talked it all over with the doctor, with her psychiatrist. And the doctor says, taking on a project of that magnitude, dealing with the emotional stress that it would bring, especially since it deals with what directly happened with her crisis, the doctor feels it's too soon. It's too soon for her to for one, put that all out there when she hasn't worked through it all herself in her therapy sessions. And the doctor definitely feels you're not up to taking on other people's crisis. So she says, so you know what, we're going to slow down. Just, I'm going to finish and really concentrate on me getting better and improving, and then think on what I want to do. And so Billy was kind of applauding her for being able to take that. It wasn't criticism from the doctor, it was fact. But to take being told that's not a good idea. See, before you couldn't tell Chelsea nothing she thought of wasn't a good idea. She'd go off a handle. He says, but for you to accept that and see the merit and the, that it's the right thing. He goes, you have really come a long way. And she says, yeah. And so he said, because I'm going to be honest with you, Chelsea, when you first told me, I kind of had some of the same thoughts. And she looked at him, she says, really? And he goes, yeah. And Chelsea said, but Billy, we are good friends. And you should not be afraid to let me know your opinion if it is not mine. She said, because, you didn't let me know that. He didn't. He said, sure. The doctor says it's okay. I'm all in, right? She goes, you could have honestly told me some of your reservations, and then I would have heard it from the doctor. And so he kind of realized that, yeah, you know what, he will be a little more forthcoming, up front. And so, but he said, but I did like the podcast idea, or a podcast idea. He goes, because that's really where we connected. And so yeah, I kind of was looking forward to that, just maybe not necessarily that topic, right? But realistically, who would host that podcast? Because see, he's already blasting Nate every chance he gets. He could never go to Newman Media. And like I said, Lily, no. She don't want to see that, right? But Billy has money. Billy can host his own podcast. So, excuse me, let's see if that's what Billy decides to do. Let's see if he decides to, this is his new little business ventures, starting his own little podcast with Chelsea. He could do that. And it won't cost a lot of money either. So then we have Audra's talking with Nate. And, he's saying, you know what, I kind of think I want to go after Daniel's gaming idea. And she goes, I thought you were giving up. Because he goes, no, that means something's going on at Chancellor Winters. Devon is probably putting with him not wanting to hear any ideas and everything, he's probably the one that's negatively influencing that, right? And so I was looking at him, she goes, I thought you were letting all of that Chancellor Winters things go because you were going to only concentrate on Newman Media and where we're at. And so he goes, you know what, you're right. Old habits. Yeah, you're right. But because she goes, because I'm telling you, we got to be careful. I saw Daniel's contract. It's pretty ironclad. Okay. And so, he would have to, Chancellor Winters would have to willingly let him out. He can't just break it. And she goes, are you thinking about stealing his idea? And he goes, no, not really that. Because he's thinking, I don't know a thing about it. It ain't my passion, right? And so he says, but, so you saw Daniel's contract. What other contracts do you know? Or do you have, insight on from Chancellor Winters? So Audra looks at him and she says, well, I just happened to see Daniel's because he was just coming on as I was leaving. But pretty much, she says, I was only in the IPO end and everything to do with IPO and really nothing else. She goes, and I wasn't involved in Daniel's contract. I just know it was pretty ironclad. And she says, look, I have burnt all my ties over there at Newman, Chancellor Winters, just like you. And I really want to move forward here. And he goes, no, and I appreciate that. Me too. I was just wondering. And I'm thinking, Nate can't help himself. He cannot help himself. And I can't wait for Audra to bite him in the butt because Audra got a text while they were talking, right? She looks at it as Tucker. So she tells Nate, I got to go take care of something. I'll be back. So she leaves, goes to Tucker. I was surprised to hear from you because the last time we talked, you blamed everything on me and blah, blah, blah. And so then, of course, Tucker, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I miss our friendship. I miss our collaborations. I miss our talks. I miss you. And she's looking, and then Tucker has the nerve to say, so, Newman Media, what's going on? What's the inner workings of Newman Media? So Audra looks at him and she says, oh, okay. So that, yep, there it is. There it is. That's exactly what, here it comes. That's what you really wanted all along. And he goes, no. That's not it. No. I really am. I really am. I do miss you. And he gets on his knees and he puts his head down on her knees. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. And she touches top of his head and he looks up and next thing you know, he's rubbing his hands, moving her skirt forward. And I'm thinking, okay, is she that easy? Right? Is she? Because she knows he was really after Ashley because she mentioned it. Now that your Ashley is gone, but didn't matter to her, right? So anyway, she goes back to the office after her little afternoon snack. Really after her afternoon snack. And Nate's like, well, something's kind of got you in a good mood coming back in here, right? As that roll in the hay tends to do, right? And so she goes, no, just had to take care of some business, some of my past, I had to put it to bed. And I thought, oh, she's saying that metaphorically and physically. Yeah. And so she goes, but that's all taken care of. And so Nate looks at her and he's kind of like, you know, Audra, I kind of wonder, did it have anything to do with Tucker McCall? Because she goes, oh, by the way, I'm all on board with going after Daniel Romalati's gaming platform because she had reservations, right? And he goes, good, what made you change your mind? He goes, I just thought about it. And he goes, great. And she goes, oh, and by the way, Tucker McCall's after it too. And and Nate looks at her because he's thinking, oh, that's where you went. And he goes, how do you know that? And she's just like, I know, right? And he goes, Audra, I do have to wonder, are you playing Tucker or are you playing me? And he's leaning back in his chair, looking at her. And I'm thinking, oh no. Oh no. Are your spidey sensors going off, Nate? Are tingling? Uh-huh. Because you were so just ready to pounce and take anything Chancellor Winters. But look at the snake you brought in. Good for you, Nate. Good for you. Because she's going to do some damage. But good for you, Nate. So we shall see where that goes. Because one of the things at first when she and Nate were talking and she was chiming in because when he was saying, no, I like the idea of the gaming platform and she was against it, but she was more, no, we shouldn't go that way. We this, that, and the other. And he goes, well, you do know, ultimately, it is my decision. And she looked at him. He goes, although, look, I value all your input. Keep it. I love communications, but in the end, it's my decision. And I thought, so really, that is what Devon was saying. The only thing is Devon didn't give you fluff words. Devon didn't say, oh, keep it coming. I love to hear all your ideas. See, Devon didn't say all that. Nate's saying all that, but still formulating his mind as to which way he feels they should go. And expects, even if they have disagreements, that we're still going to go that way, right? Because ultimately, in the end, it's still my decision. That's what Nate's saying. Sounds like Devon to me. Or any upper level owner, upper level CEO of any corporation would say, because they do have the final word. Nate just did not want to listen to or even understand that Devon did have the final say. But he's going to learn that now. And Audra is just the vehicle to really make him have to be on his toes. So good. Excellent. I love it. But that was it. Nothing else. I don't really have comments from Comment Corner. Monday, there'll probably be some comments from Thursday's video and today's video. So we'll be back on Monday. Everybody have a phenomenal weekend.